What I want, people, back for next RANTZ and REASONING episode, whatnot. I think it's episode 4, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know how the thing goes. We're just going to talk about a few things that have been going off out there in the wider, bigger world. So we're back again. As you know, I'm one of your hosts, Bente. A lot of you know me already.
I'm Cos. You already know. Don't need to say no more.
Yeah.
Cos a Cos. Cos the boss. However you wanna phrase it.
So we was having a few reasons before where everything switched on and recorded and that anyway. Yeah, what do you want to start with?
Well, as always, we're just gonna run through some general topics. You can start with the Tupac thing if you want. Tupac recently been in the news a lot regarding his murder, which was, 25 years ago?
Yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, so
Tupac's murder. 20 odd years ago, you would say, didn't it?
yeah,
And now they want to finger.
now they want to bring it up. Yeah, so what's your views on that?
Well, you know something, the views, what it was, I was watching another podcast actually. We might use a few clips for our podcast and stuff what we cover, guys, but if you want to go and watch the podcast as well, it's Professor Griff and Red Pillar having a reason about Tupac's murder and murderer. And that can be seen on YouTube. It's called Hail Mary. Hail Mary, that's the podcast. So, there's a few points that I want to cover while we're discussing it, to be fair, what were interesting from that, and some of them's not necessarily linked to Tupac himself, but in relation to Tupac, one of the things what they were saying is, why now? You know, why now is it that it's all coming up? Because apparently this guy was involved in the murder. He's admitted to this like years ago. You know what I mean? So these set of people on this podcast was like saying it's most likely, and it looks like it can be some type of diversion or illusion to distract people from bigger things that are going off and bigger agendas. Because you know that's what they like to do. A lot of the stuff that happens around us is usually to mask up some bigger thing. So you sit down talking, oh, Tupac's murder was locked up or whatever, and they get certain other things slipped under your nose. So that was one of the things what they were saying, and I would agree with. Like, why now? Why is it only 20 odd years later? Bearing in mind as well, in between them 20 odd years, a lot of money's being made on the back of Tupac and Biggie as well, for that matter of fact. Do you know what I mean? But what do you think?
I think I agree with what you were saying about the distractions and that, because to be honest, that's mainly my main view on a lot of things these days, like starting to see more clearly now, and a lot of things that are just distractions. Do you know what I mean? There's man, I'm boss tune, you know. Go on, Bente. Hey, what am I say? No, but seriously, like, obviously, as we've discussed many times before, there's certain things what we need to be doing, like rebuilding and fixing the community, and which all starts with self. Do you know what I mean? You can't fix nothing until you fix yourself. And there's certain legacies that need putting back in place. But instead, all we're doing is chatting pup about this, pup about that. And like you said, there's constant bombardment and new topics all the time. And it's quite exhausting. Like, the truth is, this thing's 30 years old. Are you going to come to me 30 years later and expect me to be bothered now? 30 years or 20 years, however long it is. Do you know what I mean? It's like, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. In fact, you bringing it up is an insult. And plus, how many times do they do that thing where it's like, I don't know the specifics behind this case and all this strippiness, but I did hear something about, like, they've released some files now. So basically it's like there were some files that were locked down and now all of a sudden they're not locked down. Like, I can presume that, because normally what they do is this: when everybody involved in the case is dead, then they released the files. Do you
Which
understand
I think they were saying. I think they were saying as well, everybody in that case related to him, apart from him,
is dead.
They all be wiped out. Anyway.
Yeah. So whatever politics you were trying to hide, or whatever stupidness you were doing at the time that you don't want people to be privy of, you've put these files on lock and classified, called them classified, said nobody can't look into it, and then when certain people are around no more,
you want to look into it.
Yeah, now we can look into it. So I'm not interested in jumping when you say jump, to be honest with you. This narrative and that narrative about Tupac's killer. Like I said, another thing why I know it's dodgy. Since when have you seen anybody, yeah? Because now we're going to go back to where, on the last podcast, if you want to go back and check where I said Michael Jackson's murderer got 5 years. But when have you ever seen someone who can kill a high celebrity person like Tupac on Vegas Strip? Yeah, and then this is the worst thing now. This is what makes it more on top. You're gonna go on podcasts and you telling people that you've done it, and he's been doing that for years. I don't like he just done it now. He's been doing that for years. Nobody ain't touched this man. Nobody ain't gone for this man. So it's almost like he had indemnity, or almost like he had permission from the people what did it. To say, well, you can do what you want, mate.
So that's it. That's exactly what they were saying. They were saying it's almost as like it's scripted.
Yeah, almost like.
Almost like it's scripted. But a lot of people might think, because even the podcast host was like playing devil's advocate, even though Griffith's saying, well, I'm going to play God's advocate then anyway, which I liked how he dropped that still. Whereas devil's advocate, why devil, you know what I mean? But anyway, even he was saying, well, are you sure it's that because everyone's going to say this and, you know, that kind of conspiracy way of thinking? And he was saying, you know, could it be that other things kind of happened? And it's like you've said on podcasts in the past, how much things do you need to see to prove? And it's like even when the proof does come out and it's on the table, give it 2 years, when more distractions have been put out there by whoever it is, people move on from it anyway. So even when it's black and white or the person's caught red-handed, it's still not enough proof for a lot of people. Because they'd rather it not be like that, or they'd rather pretend things aren't like that, so they can get on in their illusion and continue to, you know, live this pretense.
It's denial.
Denial.
That's the right word. That's the right word. It's denial. You want to deny, which a lot of people are guilty of that, probably including us.
So there was a few things anyway. What they said. A lead to these kinds of things. So the murder of Tupac is no disrespect, because obviously he's got family and he's got friends and he's got, you know, whatever, parents who want to know who the murderer is and they want them to be charged, etc. But the thing is not really about who killed Tupac. It's more about what happened to hip hop. You know, it's a bigger argument. And why would you come to that conclusion that it's all scripted and it's all an act? Because they were mentioning things like, for example, record industries. If people don't know, people probably do know anyway, but some of us might not. They have an insurance. When you're an artist making a certain level of money or you're reaching a certain heights of success, record industries put an insurance out on you. So if you die, remember they're making X amount of millions, say for example, out of you annually. If you die, they can still collect that amount of money what you would make through shows and album sales and whatever. They can collect that money on your behalf when you die. That's the insurance. So there's loads of financial gain from some artists going missing. You understand what I mean? Then the other aspect of the reasoning, what they were saying also, is that going back to the hip hop thing, hip hop is being poisoned by what we grew to know as the gangster. I'm not sure if we've touched on this on previous podcasts, but I know that we've spoken about it personally numerous amount of times for probably the larger percentages of our lives, you know what I mean? But hip hop, as when we listened to it when we was growing up, because we grew up in the 90s, but we got to realise growing older and becoming a bit more mature that the music was poisoned by what we got to know as gangster rap. So when we talk about gangster rap, the things what the artists and groups that come to your mind are like Snoop, NWA, Ice-T to some extent, and other groups who you all know about. So with the influence of gangster rap, what they were saying is that gangsters back in original hip hop days when hip hop was created at its highest vibrations to benefit who it was supposed to benefit, gangsters did not rap. Gangsters did gangster stuff, and rappers entertained people and lifted the vibes. Which makes sense, to be honest, because if you think about it, gangsters can't be going up on stage holding a microphone. If you kill people and you're running away from, you can't go up on the stage because everyone knows where to find you. Thousands and millions of people know where to come and find you. But gangsters started to infiltrate the music. Reason why I'm talking about that is because that's where artists have got killed. It's gangsters what's killed the artists. You understand me? Well, who's behind the gangster going out to do that killing is a different argument. CIA or, record producers or label owners or whatever. But it's gangsters what have killed these artists. These artists what we love and rate and everything. They've over the years they've took out, when gangsters have become into the music industry, they've took out a lot of these artists. You get me?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that a lot of that is common knowledge. Like, a lot of black people already know about the hip hop industry and know this and that, and we already discussed. They're in denial anyway, so it doesn't even matter what you prove to them. They're only going to go back to the little shell anyway. So at the end of the day, my conclusion, going back to the Tupac thing now, is basically I'm not interested. Don't want to sound bad, man. Like you said, the man's got family and all them things there. But the only reason I'm talking about it is because everyone's talking about it, and it's probably a hot topic point. But the real truth is I don't really care. Like I said, Tupac died a long time ago, so we're past that now. This has become the only thing I do care about, which might be funny, like a bad mind thing to say. I'd like to see P. Diddy under some fire. Just to see him under some fire. I really would like to see him under some fire. I don't even care.
Why is that then?
I don't really know, there's probably a few reasons which I don't really want to get into now, because like I said, I don't want no big discussion about hip hop. What I want to do is talk about things or hit points what nobody else is gonna say, or give you things what like you can't get from no other show but this show. Do you get what I'm trying to say? And one thing what you're probably not gonna get other people saying to you, and maybe not in the manner that I'm gonna say it to you, is we need to stop all this pup chatting, and we need to stop all this, because one thing what is clear in the teachings is this, don't talk to fools. They will scorn the wisdom of your words, and they'll waste your time. And plus as well, I've come to the conclusion of, like, if you and a fool are in the street going back and forth or arguing with each other, you do realize you do realize you're both fools. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You're both idiots. There's no other way to deny it. So as soon as you start to engage that conversation, or as soon as you start to engage that person, just remember you're engaging in foolishness and you're engaging in stupidness. And here's another thing now. We seem to think that money hides the fact that you're a fool, or you're going off with stupidness. Like, it's kind of like what we said on the last podcast, when we were saying, like, just because you've got emotions doesn't mean that overrides what's right and what's wrong. And the same thing applies to money. Just because you've got money, just because you're rich, don't mean you're not going off with stupidness or that you're not a fool. Like, for example, if we're going to talk certain rap artists like you were talking, yeah, they've got money and you've got a Ferrari outside, you've got bling, you've probably got all the girls a man could want, but you're a idiot, a big one. For a start, you're taking Marleys, popping, doing all these drugs and doing all this. You're a fool. You're not somebody I want to talk about. You're not somebody I want advice from. I just want to etch a sketch them.
Well, it's funny because one of the reasons on the Hail Mary, the host had said, he put out a question out there, it said, you guys are aware people, you got grief, you've got red pills. They're aware people in society, they're trying to get certain messages out there and raise awareness. But he was saying to them, why is it that people such as us, like you're saying, why do we talk about these idiots? Yeah, the people who are promoting certain things in the music, whether it be female or male. And what Pill did say is that when you're trying to get certain message out there, or you're trying to raise certain awareness, you've got to make people aware of not the enemy, weren't the word what he used, but you got to make people aware of who are the who's puppeteering, because everybody's blind, because the whole point of the industry talk and stuff like that, them people are there for a reason. They've been placed there, aren't they? I even heard recently that Kanye's come back out of his grave and said something similar, that certain artists are placed in a certain way, and we can't deny how powerful the production of what they're putting out there is, because it fooled us when we were younger, and it continues to fool young and adults, young and old to this day, because the vibration what being pushed out there is a powerful thing, and the visuals what go with it, the investment into the videos, the investment into the artists. Because like they were saying, if you've got a trail of people coming through, they just need to pick one person off the conveyor belt and drop him, and everything's in place for him. You understand me? So you end up having to like identify who are these devils, for choice of a better word, you know what I mean, to people who might be slipping. Because like if somebody had come to me when I was younger and said, listen, you NWA and them who you think is shit hot, actually this is what you're up to. Well, we didn't get that until 15 years later. So we soaked all that up. You understand? So I think you do end up speaking about these idiots, unfortunately, but it's not because they're relevant, and it's not about them per se. It's not about that individual, whoever's name you call. It's about that movement. You understand? So you're calling out that movement. Whilst doing that, you're calling up certain names so people can be aware of what exact movement you're referring to.
Yeah, as I was saying before, yeah, don't talk to fools. They'll scorn the wisdom of your words, yeah? And even though I might have used a rapper as an example, trust me when I tell you, there's many, many fools. What I even said the last time, you talking about Jeremy Corbyn and all that, even that's foolish. Because like I said, you can't do nothing about it. You just hear yapping your gums off for nothing. So there's 1,000,001 topics what we're here wasting time over, wasting energy. People got a lot of energy to throw into these conversations, a lot of energy to throw into these topics. And I got to tell you right now, point blank, category to your face, I ain't got time for none of it. I don't want to hear none of it. It's all pop doodle crap to me. Bored stupidness. That's how I view it. That's why I'm so antisocial. I don't want to talk to none of you. And the reason why I don't want to talk to none of you is because you're just going to chat pup about pup. Let's be honest. I'll just be quite frank and blatant with you. Pup. Nonsense. Things what are going to lead me nowhere and get me nowhere. Do you understand? Even when people do talk something what might be a little glimmer of sense, like, oh, I've got this very good business idea. If we sell these things, we might make a few. Even that's pup what you're chatting. Because you're talking it, you're not going to do it. Just a lot of gabba. So that's why I got time for you, because I ain't got time to waste. I realize that my time on this planet is actually very limited. I'm going to die soon. I'm not going to be here soon. So the last thing I need to do is waste time, my precious, precious time. Remember, the most valuable commodity on this planet is time. There is, even though you've been fooled into thinking it's money and certain things, there is nothing more valuable than time. So the last thing I can afford to do is waste my time chatting pub with fools. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? At the start of this thing, I said what needs to be done. Like, we clearly need to rebuild community, regain some organization, and rebuild self. And that only happens, like, and this is going to lead clearly into the next topic, what we're going to talk about in a minute, right? That only happens when the problem with black people is we're missing a legacy. And what I mean by we're missing a legacy, we all know that in the slavery, we got robbed more than just the slavery. We got robbed of culture and self. But here's the joke. This is the hypocrisy of it, right? Other nations, they have the culture and they have knowledge of self, i.e. you've got your Christians, you've got your Muslims, you've got your Jews, you've got your Buddhas, and all these nations, all these nationalities. I know they're religions, what I'm mentioning, but at the same time, they're attached to many nations and many nationalities. And them people, you know, they've got a lot of pride, a lot of knowledge in self. And you can see that in the way they function and in the way they deal with.
Last week,
hold on.
die for it, weren't they?
Yeah, the way they've the way I didn't go about the topic, you can see that. Whereas black people, we're clearly missing that. We don't have a Islam. We don't have a Christianity. We don't have no real roots and culture that ties us together like that. But this is the hypocrisy. This is the point I'm going to make. Actually, it's the reverse. We think we haven't got any. We don't have any. We have the one. The one. Our history, our legacy is not... Our history, our legacy is the legacy of humanity itself. There is nothing living and breathing on this planet what is not attached to our history, our legacy. So it's actually the reverse. We should have more to fight for than anybody else. And it's that what we need to get back to, because you can't fix self and you can't fix the community without no legacy. And how that's going to lead me on to my next point is what you just kind of touched on there is all the other nations have got something that they're prepared to die for. That's clear. And we all know. You go and mess with Muslims, see how long you're going to live. Or go and mess with certain radicalist Christians and see how long you're going to live. And same for Buddhas and all the rest, Buddhists and especially Jewish. Go around with some Jewish people, see how long you're going to live. And you go and invade them Jewish people and see how tight they'll stick together to kill you. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? Or in reverse now, what do black people feel so strongly about where they're like, we're going to die for this shit. Disrespect Rasta, you're dead. Whereas I see in this country, all we do is really, there's a lot of selling out. You probably see more Rastas trimming dread to fit in than you would see Rastas saying, I'll die behind this. Selassie, I.
You know what I think that leads to? What I was saying earlier about... like we were saying about the organisation, unification. The other word that I used was collective investment, but like I was saying as well about ownership, because you use that word sell out. If you don't sell, you own, don't you? If you buy, or if you don't, you own. The opposite of sell is to own. So a lot of the things what we would die for, we've sold out. We don't own anything. Anything what we've created, or anything what we know, or anything what we possess, whether it's even physical possessions, we've sold them all out.
I don't agree.
Eh?
I don't agree with that.
In what sense?
Well, even ownership. All these things are illusions. What do you own?
Well,
what does anybody own?
So what do you sell out? If you don't own anything, what have you sold out?
Well, the only thing we've sold out is ourselves.
Yeah.
That's it. Because there is nothing else to sell.
Yeah.
Do you understand what I'm trying to say? Everything else is just material bollocks.
I mean, that's where I suppose, in a sense, what we've realised that mine and your viewpoints differ on that, because, like I was saying before, and going back to the other podcasts, the creations what we've invented, like for example, even on the Hail Mary, they were saying like hip hop itself is could be even $1 trillion. It's not being measured, you know what I mean? But the money what's being made off hip hop throughout is probably $1 trillion business. Now, if we had ownership of that business and the money what was being made from that business was being invested in the right way, that would make a lot of difference. And that would be something to live and die for. A lot of people, what we're saying, and it's going back to what we've just discovered, a lot of people have lived and died for hip hop. We're talking about the black people who's involved in it, but they've all died in vain. They've died for hip hop because hip hop is a lifestyle, isn't it? It's a way of living, and people have died within the hip hop culture for nothing. So what we're saying is, as trivial as it sounds, because it's not just the music, it's a way of life, what a lot of us have lived along that code, ignorantly, but we've not gained anything from it. What happens is, and like I said on the last podcast, somebody else has to come and take ownership of what we create. Because like you said, we're the essence. We just naturally come with these things. We're not even intentional. But somebody then takes ownership of what we've developed and makes it into something what you can financially capitalize on and sells it back to us. You get what I'm saying? So we still want to be part of that, because we go and purchase from that culture what we created and is us. You know what I mean? That's why I didn't realise till a long time after we used to wear them garms that FUBU actually meant. Again, ignorance again. Why did I not know that? FUBU meant for us, by us. Yeah, so it's a powerful statement. If I knew it was that powerful, I'd still be rocking FUBU to this day. But I didn't realise what it were. I just used to wear, you know, the jeans and the clothes because it's American black brand. Where it's a bit deeper than that. And again, it's about the ownership, because what the other fashion world did, they realised again that this is taking off, this is going to be successful, just like the hip hop and just like everything else. So what they started to do is design their level, their brand to compete with the streetwear, because they realised streetwear is taking over. And it's come to pass, it's like prophecy, because streetwear is what runs everything. Now, if you go out there, what used to be a black young person in the 1990s or 1980s can be anybody now, because that streetwear is, you know what really burns me as well, just to touch on the streetwear for a bit and divert slightly. I've always noticed when you drive past billboards or when you go into JD, I'm calling it Art JD, a lot of the imagery, I just think like this, I'm a little bit deep like that. It's always black young people who are dressed in tracksuits and whatever. Now recently now they've got Kano from the Top Boy and all that kind of stuff. So they even know that it's where it's coming from, where that fashion line's coming from. But they're not going to spell it out to you because then it takes away from others. But that's something what we kind of developed. But them other fashion labels now, when we were young, it was exhaust and whatever. You'd have rip-up jeans and matching jean suits and all that kind of stuff. But they realised that they can make that. So Moschino and Versace and all them, they started to design their clothes in that, because them designers never really made clothes in that kind of sense. You know, with the loudness and the matching cap and all them kind of things. That's all in the back of us. So what I'm saying is basically, for me, I still strongly believe that one of the things what we need to fix up in, as well as the unification and as well as the organisation, is the ownership. When we develop something, we take ownership of it, because that's where the money's going to come from. And like you said, money is a make-believe. It's not don't really exist. But in order to compete in this world what we're in, going back to what we were saying last week about who's in actual control of most things, as in the modern world what we know, the only way you're going to compete with them is by having some economic backative. And that's where we lack, again, I think, in comparison to a lot of the other races and cultures. They understand that they've got to have an economic base to act on any actions, what they're talking about. And that's why I think sometimes it appears to us like we're only just talking, because we're not financing anything. And that's where it comes back to the collective investment as well. We need to learn to be able to put money together without it dividing people and breaking everybody up. You know what I mean? Because what happens to us, again, we can talk all day long and it all sounds good. As soon as we put a pot of money together, politics start to creep in. You know, and divisions start to... So all the things, what I was saying to you before we started rolling, for me, it's like all the things what we're not good at as a community, they're the things what we've been conditioned to not be good at. So they're the obvious things what we need to do to step up in the race. You get me? They're the things what we've been trained out of doing for a purpose. Like back in the day, they used to say they didn't used to let slaves read and stuff like that. That was for a purpose, because that's going to hold them back in the race. So once you have that ignorance, you can't compete on a level. So I think all the things what we know, what we're not good at, the organisation, you know, like even the base level, like on football, how many of us say, look at the African continent and the African nations. When you put all them players in the French team, they bust up World Cup without any problems. Well, when you put them African players in the African team, for some reason, it's not happening. So it's like, again, someone has to come and take ownership of them players, for them players to be World Cup champions. If we had ownership of ourselves, then Africa would have won World Cup a long time.
I just feel like... All right, to address what you said then. You said... You maybe you didn't realize when you're saying it. You said words like competition. You know, it's like competitive. You said words like in the race and in this race, which I presume you mean the human race and the, you know, the competitive financial race and all this stuff. And I have to look at it like this. I feel like, you know, the bit in Matrix, Neo, in Matrix 1, where like he's been fighting with the you know, with the computer, with the thing the whole time. And then he just realizes, actually, I don't need to fight. I've already won. And then in that precise moment, it becomes the most powerful and he overtakes everything. Well, I feel like that, like, one, I ain't in competition with nobody or nothing. And number two, I've already won. Because the only real competition is myself. I'm only ever competing against myself. That's what I mean. A lot of these journeys are internal. And number two is, what does it profit someone talking about making advancements in a organization what's rigged for you to lose? So what I'm saying is, I don't disagree with anything what you've said, because on a certain level, for us to improve financially and for us to build and this and that, then they're probably good steps and good things to think about. But the real truth is, I want people to know that the bigger picture surely has got to be not playing at all. Because all I know is this: if you got a game what's rigged for me to lose every time I play, the only way for me to win is to stop playing. And I got to start thinking outside of the box. The problem with a lot of us is you're only thinking inside that capitalist box. Business, money. And again, you've been fooled into that illusion of thinking that money is going to solve your problems. If I just make more money, if we just had millions, then surely we'd be all right. But I feel like when I'm talking to one of my kids in the classroom saying like, look, I can give you a calculator, but you're still thick as fuck. You have to know how to use the calculator in order for it to be effective. It has to have an intelligent person behind it pressing the buttons for it to be effective. If you don't know nothing about math or you don't know nothing about this shit, take the calculator. You're not going to get the right sum. I can promise you that. You're not going to get the right answer. So it's the same situation. I can give black people millions tomorrow. You're still thick as fuck. You still not got your internal right. So I can guarantee that any outcome is going to be wrong. Until we sort the internal, where is it where you think you're going? What is it what you think you're doing?
Definitely part
Do you understand what I'm trying to say? So this capitalist game and this all, I need to own my rights and my publishing. Fuck all of that. Let my man keep the whole load of shit, because another thing what you explained so rightly so in one of your analogies what you was using is like the football. A lot of black people play for a lot of these teams and they do a lot of fantastic things and they're very inspirational, very motivational, blah, 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 blah. Has anybody ever thought that, like, you know, that if I was to just mind my own business over here and just play my own football, that eventually people's eyes would move from over there and start to just come to me?
Well, it wouldn't.
Nobody's ever thought that. No, but you can't say it wouldn't.
No, let me tell you why I'm saying that.
Okay.
Is because the same, linking it back to the music industry, because that's the original argument in a sense, that these things are already in place. And
what things?
They're heavily invested in. You know what I mean? So if you, it's like even, if you, I guess, going to use that word again, compete. But if you want people, the same even with media or whatever, if you want people to come and look at you, you've got to be seen to be doing better than or pushing a better service or a better product than the next person, because who's going to want to watch your World Cup when that World Cup's kicking?
But you're going back to compete again. And I just told you, wait, hold on. I told you, allow competition and allow all that. And remember, I'm not doing my football over here because I want you to watch. I don't give a fuck if you watch. Don't watch.
So how are you going to sustain it?
No, because that's what I'm saying to you. Remember, I said to you, get rid of the capitalists. Stop thinking about money and stop thinking about all these finances. Just think to yourself, I like to play football, so I'm playing football.
But
and the truth is, how much money does it cost to play football?
I don't think you can
it's more
forget
about
about the
it's
money.
more about space and having a ball. If we've got the space and we've got a ball, trust me, I'm going to play. And then here's another funny thing about life. Is like, you can have all the millions, you can have all the campaigns, you can have all the cameras, all the eyes on you. But all I know is, like, even back in the past, people followed and respected Michael Jackson a lot more than they probably did for their local MP or their local flipping governor. And I know in today's world, you've got certain people like Biden or whoever stood up there, like you said, with all this $1 million marketing, you've got the full machine behind you. But people rather listen to Central C, or rather listen to Mist, or rather listen to some underground dirt guy, what not even really busting or popping like that. I even got no big, it's just his energy and it's just what he's coming with. They vibrate with that. So like I said, stop thinking about the money, because you could have the richest person over there, but yet people are still gravitating to him over there just because they like his energy and they fuck with that guy.
Yeah.
Do you understand what I'm trying to say? So it's not all money, success, and this and that. We're trapped in that.
I do truly believe, I'd have to say that I honestly disagree to some extent, because I think that I come to a certain realization in my development that you need an economic foundation and background. And like I said, not even that you're competing, you don't need to compete, because we are naturally high. Nobody can, even people who try to disregard that, can't, they struggle to. But not in relation to competing just for self. You need to be able to self-sustain, because otherwise somebody's gonna have to overarch you, because that's the world what we live in. You know what I mean? If you need to get from even A to B, you're gonna have to put gas in your tank to do that. You know what I mean? And in the world what we live in, unfortunately, I don't agree with it, and you know I don't, because of the points that I've made about capitalism over the times. But it is what it is, and it's in place. And you're gonna need money to sustain and to do whatever you do, what makes you fulfilled. You know what I mean? Because you're not gonna be happy just kicking that one little tired ass football in one little tired ass goal. When that lever starts ripping off that ball and you need a new ball, or you need some decent shoes before your foot bunion and them something like that, you're gonna need some money to get them things.
And everybody,
and that's what. Sorry to cut you, but that's what I think we have been making a mistake with all these years, is that we aren't kept up a level of economic. Not forget, if you don't want to compete. By the way, I think as well is a human instinct, because animals in the animal kingdom, in their habitats, it's about competition. Even within their own species, they have to compete to survive. Otherwise, your offspring or your family and whatever dies out. So the whole purpose of animals, even plants, compete for sunlight. They grow over each other and try and fight for it. So whichever plants get to the sunlight are the plants what's going to survive. So I think competition is just a natural thing anyway. The thing is with us is that we don't, I think, you know, in contrast to what you're saying, I don't think we compete hard enough.
Competition is lower self and competition is ego. When we start talking about higher self and God tier level, that's when we start talking about the only competition is yourself. And the only thing to fear, there's nothing to fear but yourself and what you could do to yourself. But at the end of the day, like for example, let me just make this clear, because I know what Bent is trying to say, and I don't disagree with anything.
But you've got a different.
Do you understand what I'm trying to say? It's just it's just a different. It's just maybe I could call it an idealist, because everything what I say is not. It is an ideal situation, isn't it? It's not something that is real today. You're talking about things that are real today now, what we can touch and feel, and I'm probably talking about ideas and concepts and stuff like that. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? But all I know is this: look, just to look outside the box. Because remember, you have to go outside the box. So, and to go outside the box means stop thinking about the general conventional things that you're taught to think about, basically. Now, all I know is this, and this is the truth and will always remain the truth, right? If let's just say they built some great big wall around Africa and trapped us all in it forever. We could never leave. We're done in there. There is nothing that we would ever want for or need. Africa literally has every single
survive, yeah.
just it don't matter even to survive, because even to manufacture and all these things, what you got to understand is all these products and all these things come from the earth.
Yeah, but they take organisation.
But it doesn't matter, because I'm sure if they leave you on your own behind the wall, you can organise yourself and you can bloody do whatever. We'll put it this way. We'll put it this way. The truth be told, if you was left behind the wall, you'd actually have the choice, or should I say, the option to do whatever the hell it is you want to do. If you want to turn it into some hellhole and mash down the place, you do that. If you want to get on some God level and turn it into the most beautiful oasis you've ever seen, then you do that. If you want to play football, then you do that. That's what I'm trying to say to you. It's more about like, you do what you want to do and you need to stop these restrictions. And then another thing what you said, which is true, is about self-sufficiency. I'm going to put a question to any man now. And this is any grown man on planet Earth. Can you call yourself self-sufficient if you have to get dinner from another man? If another man has to feed you, how could you ever claim that you're self-sufficient? And then I'm going to go back to, again, like Africans and Africa, we were the biggest horticulturers on the planet. We taught people how to grow food. We taught people how to survive. We taught people how to live. So how is it now? We need teaching how to live. And we're like, oh, I can't survive. I don't know how I'm going to cope. I don't know how I'm going to live. Like, what? Are you for real, for real? So I'm going to go back to give me Africa. And all we need is the light. You don't even need no money. Just need the food and need the resources and need the sustenance. Because the truth is, I can build houses without money. If I've got the if I've got the wood and the concrete and the bricks and the tools, what do I need money for? I'll just build a fucking house. That kind of stuff. But yeah, even if I've got all the tools and everything to even build like I've said this argument a long time ago, right? I know people like my Uncle Lloyd. My Uncle Lloyd just taught himself to fix things. Like he's one of them tinkerers. He'll just open up that camera and just have a look in there, just for the sake of having a look. And he's learned. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? And because of that, he can fix near most anything going.
Self-taught.
And plus, he is the most generous, most kindest man you have ever seen. Most of the time, he goes around fixing people's shit for free, just to help. That's his reputation. That's what he's known for. Now, I say that to say this.
Sorry.
Let's just say, for example, we got the electricity running off of windmills. You know them windmills what generate their own electricity?
Wind turbines.
Wind turbines, yeah. So nobody's paying for no gas. Like, still, we're not talking no money. We've all we've all got electricity, but it ain't no money. Do you understand? Now I know, for example, we're all sat at home enjoying the beautiful free electricity, and then one day, everything just locks off. People like my uncle and other people in the community would happily go up there and fix what needs to be fixed and look at what needs to be looked at, just because they want everybody to have their electricity back on. Not because you're paying them £50 an hour to go up there. Not because they've got some gas level 4 certificate that they've got from some fool. No, because they actually know how to go up there, get their hands on and do it. Okay. And there's many people in every section of society. There's people, like for example, there's a woman she will fix you and look after you. Like she's the local neighborhood nurse, you might call it, or if you fall over and she'll come and patch you up, and she does it just because. There's a woman out there what will look after pets and dogs and all that just because. There's a man what will write you his favourite poetry and poems just because.
What made European, for argument's sake, it could be anybody, it could be imaginary people, what made them so successful was the ability to mass produce things at speed. You know, like, so farming, everyone used to farm. That was just what people did. But then when they expanded that to mass agriculture, then it was like a boom for their economy. So the reason why I'm saying that is because if you've got gold, which we've always had, Jamaica's got aluminium, diamonds, all these things, you can't just go and take a shovel and dig. You might get a little diamond. But if you want to get all the diamond or all the gold what's in that vicinity, or oil for that matter of fact, you're going to need equipment, and you're going to need every duty X amount of £1 million equipment. So what's happened is we've got the oil, we can get a little bit drip, a little bucket full. The next person comes and sees that if they invest into mining that oil, they can be set for ever, almost. Do you understand what I'm saying?
I understand, but this is where you're thinking outside. You're limited now in the thinking, in that, like, say,
before you go there, let me just see where I was going. So I'm gonna link it back again to the music, because what you said earlier was we're sat wondering why are we doing this, or why aren't we doing this, and whatever. And part of the issue is, as you already know, it's not what you don't know, things like the music have been used because that the media, the music, the movies, the whatever, they've been used to send you off in whether it's distraction or whether it's delusion or whatever, they've been used to send you off on that trail. So like in the podcast about Tupac with El Mary, what they were saying was, when the gangster rap kicked in, that was used. They even brought up like Eazy-E being the first person who was a gangster who was rapping. Like I was saying to you earlier, when I used to listen to NWA, Eazy-E didn't sound like he could rap. You know what I mean? He just didn't sound like a rapper. But obviously his charisma took him to a certain level. But that opened the floodgates, and NWA, then they were talking about the movies, what come behind it. Because remember, we all run to go and see Juice, we all run to go and see Menace Society, we all run to go and see Boys in the Hood. Then there was a whole floodgate of them, New Jack City, whatever, and we all rated them. I rated them, I probably still would watch them now. But all that was like conditioning programming. So when we're saying why is this and why is that, it's because of the conditioning and programming. And you can't underestimate conditioning programming, because even mobile phones like today, the young people, them are conditioned and programmed by the mobile phone. If you make them aware that they're conditioned, they still can't snap out of it, because it's psychological. It's like doctors and people with PhDs in that research and know how your brain works. You understand me? So all this information and flooding of images and flooding of certain things is what's brought us to this level of mentality. So that's why I still do strongly believe, even though it is like bullshit in one sense, it should be bullshit, we should be way over that, but we're not. We still caught up in it. There's still reason why we're still spending money on foolishness, and we're still running down certain things, and we still got a certain lifestyle, and people are still dying. Because that's the bottom line, you know, people are dying over this. It's not like, say, we're just talking about it and not what's happening. People's children dying and been dying for years, and will continue to die, whether it's in the Caribbean or America or any ghetto around the world, because of the conditioning. It's like they've been programmed to behave in that way. That's how they've been programmed to say, this is how you should behave, this is how you should dress, this is how you should walk, this is how you should talk, this is the position in the ladder where you should sit. You understand? So you're talking, like you said, and I agree with you, you're talking the
end goal.
The end goal, you're talking the ideal image of where we should be. Whereas like you said, I'm still kind of like talking where we're at.
Yeah.
So to get to that place where we should be, and we will get one day, we need to still address these things, because it has happened to us. If it never happened, then it wouldn't be an issue. But the fact of the matter is, it has happened, and it's still happening, and people are still getting sucked into it, because like the industry's moved on again. So another thing what they mentioned in the podcast, Professor Griffith was a ex-Public Enemy artist, hip hop from the original days. They were talking about him meeting up with Tupac, and he was saying that as much as he loves Tupac and he was a revolutionary and almost like a prophet type character, he said it was negative time what he had around him. So they was asking him why and whatever, and he was saying, well, Pac was like smoking and calling girls and all them kind of stuff there, as you would do at a 20-year-old young man, you get what I'm saying? But Griff was saying, I was never really for that. Like, for one, I was more for protecting the women and them kind of things. And you said he's never drunk and never smoked. And the reason why I'm mentioning that now, because today's hip-hop, you can't be an hip-hop artist now or project the image of hip-hop or say you're anything to do with hip-hop unless you involve drinking and smoking and doing some of these activities, what the original hip-hop artists them weren't about. You understand me? So the young people of today are even being more conditioned than what we was, because the floodgates wide open. So you've got the female artists now what are promoting certain promiscuous lifestyle. So the young girls them are growing up thinking, yeah, it's all right to be. By the way, just going off it slightly, what's your opinion on OnlyFans?
Hold on.
Sorry to jump in.
No. You can't just change.
No,
the
it's
topic
linked
like
to what
that.
I'm saying, because I'm talking about the female artists and the way they promote and use their body.
You got clean off topic now. You got back to
but it's
hip
not,
hop
though.
and everything.
It's the same thing because it's all the same imagery. OnlyFans and female hip hop artists are selling the same thing.
Yeah, but that's
They're all selling
that's not the point what we were making before. Like before we were talking about end goals and all these things, and you basically said like you were talking about oil and basically you'd need machines and all these things. And so basically basically they're gonna come into it.
Yeah.
What I'm saying to you is this: that's almost like saying like same thing again. We need them. We can't survive without them. Hold on. They're the big gods because they've got all the machines and they've got all the technology and they've got all the this and they've got all the that. When the truth is, and you kind of touched on that point before. When you really look into most things, who is it what invented most things? Like when you look at the groundbreaking, like, they have the groundbreaking. When you look into that, who really made it? So then what I'm trying to say to you is, hold on. Sorry.
Go on.
But it's true though, isn't it? End of the day, who did it? Do you understand what I'm trying to say? We did it.
Yeah.
So therefore, what I'm trying to say to you
why
is,
are we not
if you're
benefiting from it?
exactly because you're always doing it for somebody else, and you're always building somebody else's dream, and you're always building somebody else's empire. And what I'm trying to say to you is come out of the box. Stop thinking about the man's empire. Stop thinking about his Forbes list and his index list and all this stupidness, and go and have your own dream and build your own thing. You are more than capable. And guess what? As a group, because what I'm saying to you is we have all the tools. That's why I made the point about saying if you leave us in Africa, you have everything you need. Even if you want to build a factory, then you've got all the resources, all the minerals, all the tools needed to build Z factory. If you need equipment, then guess what? Build the equipment, because again, you've got all the resources needed to build Z equipment. And guess what? You can't even say, well, we need their brains or we need their thinkers, because we're the ones what think up the shit in the first place and invent things in the first place anyway. So I ask you, what do we need them for?
What
do we need anyone for?
Let me ask you a question. So why? You're right.
What purpose? I don't even want to eat. I start again what I said before. I don't want to eat it.
So why have we never done it? Why is it never happened?
Because again, like I said at the start, we have been robbed of more than just the finances. You have done more than took from your home. You've been robbed of a legacy of self. You're basically asleep. You're traumatized. You don't know who you are. You don't know what your legacy is. You don't know what you come from. And the worst thing is the second that you do, that's why they say it's not liberating. It's like it gives you that you can stand up 10 toes tall. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? Right now, you just look like a hunchback little weak fool. Whereas really and truly, you could be a god. And we could all be on some god levels. But whilst ever you're eating from this ball, or whilst ever you're, like I said, plugged into this, then you're always going to lose. Remember, I told you, the game, which you already know, the game is rigged for you to lose every time. Every time you do something, the man at the top always profits, always wins. Even when you talking about, I'll use your oil machines or I'll use your this, who do you think wins? Or even when I buy my own publishing rights in the music industry, and in the end of it, when all these records are selling, who wins in the end? It's always the same man winning all the time, over and over again. So why would I play the game? I just don't even want to hear about the game.
You know what that comes to me?
I want to start a new game. I'm more like interested in saying, yo, come on, make a new game. You know what that comes
to me? So this is the reason what we've had when we were younger. And if you remember, the third podcast was similar. So we were saying when we were younger, a lot of us when we were younger, and all the man them will be able to relate, we looked for that escape, didn't we? And a lot of the escape, what a lot of the young black men tend to elevate towards, rightly or wrongly, again, we have to unpick the answers and the questions behind it, is the criminal world, innit? Is the drugs or whatever and stuff like that. Which again, what we've talked about in the past, where does that lead to? So for me, again, it's still looking at when we talk about organisation. So I think what we're in agreement with is that we need organisation, we need unification.
Most definitely.
With that will come some level of ownership anyway. And I also believe, I'm not quite sure, Kevin, if you agree or not, but we need some level of collective investment. That don't necessarily have to mean money as such, could mean investment of of many types of things. Yeah, but then once we've agreed on that, we then have to start moving discussion on to how do we achieve those things. Because us telling people that realizing self is what we need to do, which is right, we also have to start helping people to understand how you do that.
Well, I'm glad you said that, because basically, cut a long story short, like I touched on it before a little bit, but basically, we need our gods back. We need our legacy back. Like for example, I don't want to be disrespectful, but everybody's got their gods and everybody's got their religion and their beliefs, and their whole nation is built on a foundation. Whether that foundation is truth, whether that foundation is lies, they still have it.
Yeah.
We need ours back. And what is most tasty about ours, what should be most appealing about ours is, one, ours is not mythical. So let's get that straight. Most other people's are mythical, meaning like you can't touch, feel, see that. How is it like that? And number two is, most of the others was taken from ours anyway.
Yeah.
So therefore, it's like, it's always nice to know about the origin. So at the top of that list, and I'm going to go back to what I said before, I don't know what you think you're going to accomplish in life. I don't know where you think you're going in life if you haven't fixed self. If you're fucked up, I can guarantee you, don't matter what you're investing your time or energy into, it's going to end up fucked up because you fucked up. Whereas if you fix yourself and fix your mind and then endeavor into things, I'm sure you're going to be successful. So, and as a black people, nobody can tell me that we've got our mind right. And nobody could tell me that, yeah, we're fixed. We're ready now, Kev. We're a million miles away from fixed. And the only way to get to the fix is to have these real discussions. And to have these real discussions, we have to put all the distractions and all the other things aside, because we're just wasting more time again talking about these distractions, and we're leaving less time to talk about what we actually need to be focusing on, which is the legacy.
People, you know, on the YouTube, as you know, it's all about comments and interaction and stuff like that. And so leave your comments, please, because we'd like to know what you think. Yeah. You know, because that's the way we're going to move forward. And find some level of organisation as black people. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to like all them regular YouTube things what you know, that still applies to us as well. You need to subscribe, you need to like, you need to leave comments and all the rest of it. So hit that notification bell and all the rest of that stuff, man. You know. And
I hope you've enjoyed it, man. We're gonna have some more. We're just gonna keep hitting you up with this.
Hitting you up next week,
same time.
With the same time, different topics and different things to talk about.
If there's anything you want us to talk about, then again, leave it in the comments. And if you want to know my views and opinions on things, then please leave it in the comments, and we'll gladly touch it. You know, we'll talk about it.
RANTZ and REASONING, guys. Till next time.
Peace.